Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan. Today we get to be diving into this bottle. This is the Double Oaked Rye, by the way. Double Oaked Rye from Peerless. So we've covered a lot of Peerless on the channel. I'll tell you up front what my impression of Peerless has been over the years. Generally speaking, when it comes to Peerless, my overall take is that their whiskey's pretty good. I've never had bad whiskey from Peerless. But what I do consistently get from Peerless is overpriced whiskey. And that is my biggest issue with their products. Is that a lot of times you're spending over $100 for something that's not even age stated. It could be 4 to 6-year-old juice in the blend, and you don't know. They're not going to tell you. So transparency with Peerless sucks, and their price tags generally suck too. Because a lot of times we like to play this game sometimes in the whiskey community where just sort of a benchmark for value is to take the age of the whiskey and multiply it by 10, and that's roughly how much money you should be spending on it. So if it's a 6-year-old whiskey, maybe you're spending $60. Now, this is not a one-to-one. Obviously, there's a lot of other variables that go into the price tag of a whiskey, so don't take that to the bank or anything. It's just sort of like a baseline for value. When you're looking at a price tag and you're asking the question, is it worth what I'm paying for it? That's one of the comparisons we like to make. One age of whiskey equals $10 of value. Lots of other variables. Anyways, so that's consistently my issue with Peerless, is that their products are too expensive, and especially for the lack of transparency. Now, this is batch 6 of the Double Oaked Rye. And it's on shelves a lot right now. I've seen people in our whiskey community have, I think it was maybe Randy was posting a picture of it in our Discord. He was like, hey, just saw this on the shelf. Is it worth picking up? So I picked it up, and I figure I'll let you know. Let me pour it, and we'll talk specs. I do have to hand it to them, though. Their bottling is great. It is extremely unique. It jumps off the shelf at you. You see it, and you immediately recognize the brand. There's no, hey, what is that? A lot of these like NDPs these days get their bottles from the same place because they're all the same shape. And you're like, I have no idea if that's this distillery, this is that Nashville Barrel Company, or is that, you know what I mean? So, or like ASW, right? Sorry, it's brain fart. ASW, a lot of their bottles look the exact same as other brands too. So they're bottling distinct. You know who it is when you see the bottle. So points there, credit there. Now, this is MSRP is like $115. Yeah. So that's like an immediate kick in the pants, because some of the Double Oaked ryes that I like are like at the $70 to $80 price tag. And I feel like that's a really good price point for a good Double Oaked rye. Like there's a good Double Oaked Fiddler. Is it Fiddler? Yeah, it's like their toasted barrel rye. That stuff's dynamite and much cheaper than this. So that's what I'm kind of thinking in my head as I taste this. I want to be comparing it to some of those whiskeys. The proof on this comes in at 109.8. I think the last batch was 109.5, so they tend to stay fairly consistent. But let's get in here. We'll nose it, taste it, see if it's worth that price tag. This is a big investment. One of my favorite Double Oaked, if not my favorite Double Oaked rye on the planet. This is a twice barrel Jack Daniel's straight rye whiskey. I think this was like an $80 bottle. And it's friggin' dynamite. I adore it. That's what Peerless has to go up against. Nose is quite nice. I'm not gonna lie. A ton of toasted oak here. Your brown sugars and vanillas. You definitely get notes of like leather and a wood shop. You know, that kind of thing. You get the sawdust in the air kind of a quality. The other thing that's sort of jumping out at me is this like cinnamon roll note, right? Which I love. A little bit of baked bread and cinnamon on here. And it does still have some of that rye kind of like pepperiness, which I appreciate too. Okay. Nose? Pretty nice. I like that nose quite a bit. There's nothing in there that's bad, that's for sure. Well, let's try it. Cheers. Okay, it's pretty good. That's pretty good. They are not at all bashful about the Double Oak. There is just this giant wave, this tidal wave of oak that hits your palate. Right in the mid palate. Up front, you get a little bit of that brown sugar and cinnamon. That was one of my favorite snacks as a kid, was to just put some toast in the toaster. Once you pop it out, spread a little butter on it, and sprinkle like a mixture of sugar and cinnamon on top of it. It's like that, right? The front end of the palate is like that cinnamon toast crunch cereal note, very sweet. But then you get that tidal wave of oak, that nice toasted oak, gives you some nice char, that charcoal kind of a vibe. It reminds me in a lot of ways of like a Jack Daniel's with the you know, the Tennessee, the Lincoln County process, right? Heavy charcoal notes. But then the tail end of it, the finish, just rides out on real sweet oak, almost like Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. It's like that, and that rye spiciness just kind of dies down after a while, and you just get to sit with that sweet oak. Second sip, the only other thing that's jumping out at me here is alongside that big tidal wave of oak that you get halfway through the mid palate, I'm also getting some of these anise notes, which I actually really like. All in all, I think that's a pretty tasty double oaked rye. I actually really like this. I'm kind of surprised. Not that I didn't think I would have a good whiskey here, because Peerless has never really put out something bad per se for me, but it's usually a pretty stark contrast for me between what I'm tasting and what I paid. Right now, I think they're closing that gap a little bit, but I will still say $115, I think is too much for this whiskey. I think that if this was closer to that $80 price point, this would be an easy like a very justified purchase. I'd be like, yeah, I want that on my shelf. $80, put it on my shelf, drink it, and not feel bad about it. Anything over $100, I don't know about you, but for me personally, if I pay over $100 for a bottle of whiskey, it's hard for me to reach for it. Like, you almost feel guilty about it. I prefer a guilt-free pour a lot of times, where it's just like, I'm just going to pour something and not feel bad about the fact that I'm draining some more juice out of that bottle. But if I pay over $100, it's much harder to justify drinking out of it. Does that make sense? That's how it is for me. And the fact that this is a $115 bottle, and this is what I'm tasting, I wish this was $80, because then I would reach for this more often. I'd be like, you know, I think I'm in a mood for a good toasted rye. And I think I'd grab that quite often. But yeah, $115 for this, I still think is just too much money for this whiskey, in my humble opinion. If I were to give this a rating for my scale, I realize someone mentioned this to me. They're like, you haven't been giving things ratings per your scale recently. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. It wasn't an intentional omission. It's just something I kind of forgot to do. But let's give this thing a rating for my scale. If this were an $80 bottle, I think I would probably give this a rating somewhere around like that flat 8.0. I think that would work for this. But since it's $115, that's gonna, I think, be a couple of big knocks against this whiskey. And so the rating for me would then drop to like maybe a 7. 7.2 will be generous, because it does taste pretty good. Let's give it a 7.2. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah. That price tag, too high. That's my takeaway here. But the whiskey itself, very tasty, very good. If you've got some extra dough to blow on a bottle of whiskey, I don't think you would be disappointed when you drink this. The only thing that will take a serious hit is your wallet. Especially you think that like that's price point for something like Jack Daniel's 12 year. And if you asked me any day of the week, would you rather have this or JD12? It would be JD12, and I would not bat an eye. I would never question it, and it would be week after week after week. That would be my pick. So I think it's trying to find itself in a weight class it doesn't belong in. I think you need to drop down a few weight classes, and then you'll be a heavy hitter in that weight class. That's my takeaway for this bottle. Anyways, I would be curious to know your thoughts if you have had the Peerless Double Oaked Rye. Do you agree with me? Is that sort of your takeaway too? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for tuning into the video today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you enjoyed it, would you let me know by leaving a like in the video, as it's the best free way to support the content right here on YouTube. And consider checking out our Discord community. There's a link in the description, totally free to join. Wonderful people in there, wonderful conversations. Come introduce yourself and say hi. We'd love to meet you. And if you want to get involved in things like, I think tomorrow is our last night of our current bottle share. I think we've gone through we were going to do 12 whiskeys, but I think it's been more like 15 or something like that, because some people were like, I'm sending 2, which is great. It's a good problem to have. So we've had a lot of fun. We've had 3 tasting nights, and then tomorrow will be our 4th and final one for this current bottle share. But if you want to get involved in the next one, check out our Patreon group. Okay, the base tier is $1. That's it. Boom, basically free. Get in there, say hello, introduce yourself. We'd love to meet you. Cheers, my friends. May you live richly and get better with age, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.